Hi and welcome back to XPlane 11, and once again I'm doing another leg in my attempt at flying at least around Great Britain, if not ultimately around the whole of the UK is the plan. So I'm back at Elvington, which is where I finished off last time, just outside York, which is where I was originally born, and today I'm going to carry on down the east coast. My aim is to land at Fenland airport, which is a little bit southish of where I used to live before I moved up to Scotland. I used to live in Lincolnshire, so that's my plan. So basically I'm going to take off here, come out, go along the Humber, if I lean in, come down the Lincolnshire coast past Skegness, in through the Wash, and I think Fenland's about there. Can't actually quite see the ID for it on the map, but it's sort of around that way. So I suppose I should just get going. Just get myself comfy. A bit of power on. Don't know why I grabbed that. I think I want to be heading, I can see the runway over there, but I'm not sure how to get out to it. Maybe it is that way actually. I really should have airport maps, shouldn't I? I think I can get out of the runway that way. I think that is the end of the runway. Now I need to remember, when I landed here last time, what I hadn't realised, what I hadn't cottoned on to, is that the runway, or like the old runway here, is a lot bigger than the actual runway that's here. It seems like there's a better paved area and painted area sort of in the middle of the runway, which was kind of interesting. I'm just trying to see if I can see it down there. And if I zoom in on here. Okay, zoom right in. That bloody plate, whoa! I'm not paying attention. Yeah, I'm definitely on the runway. That damn plane that's always in the way. It's kicking about again. Right, zoom out here. So I reckon this is going to take about an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour. That is the thing I'm starting to wonder about, is maybe I should make these slightly shorter hops. I can see what looks like marking. Ah, yeah, I can definitely see markings up ahead. So we'll taxi to that. I suppose I could just go tearing off from here, but I should probably do it properly. I've got another flight plan. Where did it? It just disappeared. Why did my flight plan just disappear? That's concerning. But yeah, I just had one plugged in there. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm going to have to try and load that up again. So let's just get out to the runway. So yeah, you can kind of see how the actual runway, so this presumably was a really big runway at some point. Oh, do you know what? I can see that plane that's always getting in the way. I can see his lights flashing at the end. Let them do their thing. So let me just check my flight plan. Oh yeah, no, it's still in there. That's good. So I got a few more waypoints than usual at the moment, just because I'm trying to hug the coast a bit more. Let's get ourselves centered on this runway. So I am wondering about the hops. Maybe making them an hour is, around an hour or so is a bit much. So Starting to wonder if maybe I should make them just a little bit shorter. Maybe aim for half, like half an hour hops or something like that. Is he facing me or is he taking off? I can't quite figure out what he's doing. New proper ATC. I'm just going to go for it. Can't figure out what he's doing. He just seems to be sat there. Sod it, let's go for it. Could have done better there. Staying. Whoa, could do a lot better staying straight. Right, we're up. We're up. Oh yeah, he's just sat at the end there. I need to turn in a minute. I'm just sort of getting my bearings in terms of rate of climb and stuff like that. Yeah, there he is. Oh, he was just sat there. Right, I'm going to turn this way. I'm not seeing my route on my flight plan, which is concerning. Oh, there we go. Right, pay attention to my instruments. So I'm flying rail time, rail weather again. Certainly here where I am in Scotland, it's overturned. The weather's actually pretty nice. A bit hazy, a little bit cloudy, but otherwise warm and pleasant. So obviously down in Yorkshire, that's a bit of a distance from here. I don't know what it's like down there. It's looking pretty much the same here. So there's obviously some sun. You can see my shadow and stuff like that there. Right, I'm going to chance putting on altitude and heading. Oh, heading. I should dial heading in first though, shouldn't I? There we go. Can't I? There we go. Altitude. Don't know how we're looking. Right, I need to turn a wee bit, don't I? Not that. That. I'm trying to get myself on this line. Let's go up a little bit. Probably come off on the speed a bit. Oh, don't overcook it, don't overcook it. So I was aiming to fly about 3,000 feet. We'll see how it goes. So my plan is to come down here, fly along there, fly down there, out to, what is it actually called? Sperm Point or Spurn Head? Or is it both? But anyway, there and then across mouth of the Humber and then down the Lincolnshire coast. That's my plan. So I'm up to 1,000 feet so far. Oh, steady on. I wonder if I can change the trim that it applies, or you know, the speed at which it kind of climbs. go for a lot more power. I want to get up to altitude. I'm trying to take altitude hold off on the right. I have to turn. Oh no! 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 Oh, hang on. Let me just let go of that for a second. Right there. Okay. I just did the thing again of accidentally pressing the button that. There we go. Right. I want you to just follow heading. Yeah, there's one button on here that just kind of recalibrates my position. And then there's a button for turning off the autopilot. And I'm forever pressing the wrong one at a crucial moment. Right. Mostly following the route I want to take. Definitely a bit misty. Definitely a bit misty, but those clouds look high enough I don't really worry about them just yet. Ooh, it's definitely looking even mistier out there. Look, all my lights are on. I don't need landing lights on, do I? Don't know what that is, can't quite read what that says. Can't read what that says. I got my strobes on and stuff like that. Can't see them though. Oh yeah, I can see it flashing on the end of the wing. That's good. Alright. Feels okay. It'll be interesting to see if I keep getting that rudder kick again that I was getting before. What's that thing there? I have no idea what that is. Is that like a microphone or something? Looks like it says mic there, but I'm not sure what that is. Oh, it's definitely getting mistier. Yeah. Visibility's not great. About 10 minutes to the waypoint. Doing okay, we're doing okay. Oh, he's taken off as well, he's behind me. Let's see. This is interesting. So it looks like I got there's certainly a surface there is deflected on one side but not on the other. What's that about? That can't be good, right? Well, like trimmed in a weird way. Still climbing. Oh, coming up to 3,000. Why does that say that? Interesting. I'm going to go for an altitude hold of 3,000. See if this works. Not bad. Not bad, not bad. Right, I'll probably come off on the throttle a little bit. Still got some distance between me and the clouds, so that's good. Definitely looking misty down there though. Well, hazy. I suppose it's hazy is the word I'm looking for. I want to... There we go, that's local time. everything's looking promising. Any hint of the Humber yet? Oh, I think there is. Yes, there is. That looks like the Humber there, doesn't it? Not going a bit too fast. Yeah, a lot of me actually doing this is going to be just recording the experience of actually just, even though it's not the most interesting of landscapes, it's basically me just sat VR sightseeing really, but also, you know, managing little moments of terror when I've got to take off, turn when I get to a waypoint, land, that kind of thing. But I am thinking that, yeah, it definitely makes sense for me to do short hops. Like this hop I could have done from, oh, are we turning a little bit? I definitely could have done from, say, Elvington to, I feel like we're wallowing a little bit like that, from Elvington to yeah, Hull or something like that, you know, something around Hull way. It would have been a short hop, maybe about 10-15 minutes. Well, I suppose it would end up being like a half-hour video, top, yeah, for the most part. So I still need to think these through. I think we'll come just a little bit that way. Doing a good job of heading for the waypoint. So I definitely realised on my last dip into here that if I can fly pretty much onto the waypoint, the nav computer does progress rather than me having to clear out the old one and pick out the next one. Yep, there's definitely the Humber down there. So I was looking at improved scenery and things like that, and it does seem you can't buy anything on Steam. There's no kind of DLC on Steam. I did find a company that do sell add-on scenery for XPlane for various parts of the world, and they got like the whole of the UK covered. But I think I worked out if I was to get the whole of, certainly the whole of Great Britain, I don't know if it was all of the UK, if it was to get the whole of, you know, sort of like mainland GB as it were, I think it was going to cost like 120 quid or something like that. Which I'm not massively opposed to, but at the same time, I feel, you know, I did back in the days of Flight Sim 2000, or maybe around 2002, can't remember. There was photorealistic scenery you could buy from Microsoft Flight Sim back then, and I kind of bought it in areas. I think it came in 4 different packs or something like that. I may be misremembering exactly how many. I did spend a fair bit of money on that, probably not 120 quid. Whoa, here we go, that kicking in thing's going on again. I probably did spend maybe getting on for that much money. But I had a more permanent setup then. You know, I had my flight yoke and my pedals, and I was very much into flight sim and stuff. This was back when I lived not that far from the airport I'm heading to today. I was very much more into flight simming, actually very much into the idea of maybe at some point getting into trying out getting my private pilot's license. I did for a while entertain the idea of actually learning to fly properly, but then life had other plans because, you know, kids and things. You can't really spend that amount of money on something that is purely a hobby. and there's kind of a danger element to that kind of thing, and if you've got a young kid, probably shouldn't be taking those kinds of chances. So yeah, I kind of gave up on that idea, but did put more time and effort into flight simming because it was a way of definitely something going on here. Maybe it is winds, could be winds, right? It's definitely a way of satisfying that desire. Okay, so we're coming up to the Humber down here. We'll take the turn and sort of follow the north coast, or north shore I suppose I should say, of the Humber. Follow it down and then turn off down the Lincolnshire coast. That's my plan. Again, in flying this, I've not paid a huge amount of attention to areas I'm supposed to be avoiding, you know, like danger areas and things like that. I've tried to some degree, but I haven't put too much effort into it. Right, going to get ready for the turn. It's already on waypoint 2, there we go. That's about right. Maybe just a little bit more east. So there's an airport down there that I could have landed. Is it on the north shore or the south shore? I can't tell. It's on the north shore. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So I could have landed there. That would have been a good spot to go to actually, I think. Would have made sense, a short hop. I think I'm starting to convince myself that these longer hops probably not a great plan. I mean, it's fun, I enjoy it, but mostly it's just sat here waffling away to myself. Oh! Wind turbines down there. I don't think I've seen any before. Putting a pair of wind turbines in line with the runway is a choice. I notice there's a bridge going over it as well. I wonder if that's XPlane's attempt at the Humber suspension bridge. This is going fairly smoothly. I need to turn just a little bit, I think. Getting a little bit off track. Not too badly. Yeah, about 8 minutes to the next waypoint, I think. Making good time. Making good time. Speed's looking okay. Shame it's not clear a day for it, really. It's interesting how, you know, 3,000 feet up, it doesn't look that high. I mean, I know this is VR and stuff, and maybe the scale of the buildings isn't quite right. It actually doesn't look that high up. Oh, directional gyro, blah blah blah. Don't show me that again because I don't really know what that means. I'm just going to go with what I got. I think it is again, I'm supposed to adjust. I think I'm supposed to be adjusting this to match that. It's 1 notch off east. I'm actually quite way off, aren't I? I think. No, no, I'm reading it the wrong way around. About there. There we go. Nearly screwed everything up there. Yeah, I was reading that way, and reading that way, but like I should read that way. Oops. It sounded like the start of one of those stories where you watch, you know, some YouTube video of real life aviation disasters, and it all came about because the pilot was trying to adjust his heading indicator thing, but turned it anti-clockwise when it should have been turning it clockwise. That's some nonsense. And that one simple mistake is the start of a whole chain of errors. Right, that definitely ain't no suspension bridge. I think that is where the Humber Bridge is around there, isn't it? I've only driven over that once, ever. I was going up to Scarborough. Well, actually, no, it wasn't Scarborough. It was actually going. Well, I did go through Scarborough, but it was actually going up to Whitby. Drove up to Whitby and stay there for a week, which I flew over in. Was it in the last? Yeah, it was in my last session in here. Right, doing okay. So yeah, I think I aimed to follow that route. Yeah, looks about right. Doing okay. Is it getting mistier? Feels like it might be getting mistier. That's a pretty big building. What's that down there? That looks quite specific. What it's supposed to be. And if it is actually supposed to map onto something, or if it's... I don't know if these buildings are sort of procedurally generated, or if, you know, some of these bigger ones are actually deliberately where they are. Because, oh, well, I noticed there's a heliport there, so I'm going to guess that's supposed to be like a hospital maybe or something. The whole complex looks sort of hospital-like, doesn't it? Right, I'm heading out over the water. I think I probably actually just, yeah, made a beeline, and then I'm going to turn off down that way. No, that can't be a hospital, because look at all that parking and it's nearly empty. Looks like there's actually adequate parking. Seems unlikely, right? Plenty of fuel, lots of fuel. Oh my, maybe a quarter of the way so far. I mean, of course I could have gone sort of as the crow flies. It would have been a lot quicker to go down there. But I just feel like hugging the coast makes for a more interesting flight. So the idea is going to go down there, across there, round there, and then inland. In fact, that's where I'm going, EGCL, isn't it? Yeah, Fenland. What's the message? Nav data is out of date. Okay. Can I crave a message? Oh no no no! Oh no! I want my display back. Ah no 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 no. Oh crumbs. No. I can't remember how to get it back now. No, 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 no. Okay, a little bit screwed. Right, I'm going to stand my turn. So that's the way I'm heading. This is why you should never rely on... There we go. I wasn't ready for the turn yet. I'm going to hit the waypoint. Turning this into a video game now. There we go. Right, let's stop messing with things. Probably turning a bit too far, that'll do. Actually, was I following that way and that way, or did I plan to go that way? Yeah, I think I actually planned to just fly straight out and then across, looking at that really hard turn there. I feel like I need to set a little fan up in real life, just to blow a little bit of air at me, just so I feel like I'm getting some air coming through. Is that what they are? I'm going to assume that that's what they are, ventilation. Oh, I hoped I could mess with those. No, I can't put them down. Oh, that's disappointing. I can open the doors and things. It's probably not a great way of getting ventilation. It looks like I should be able to mess with that. It's not letting me. Hurry up a little bit. Because I could actually make this quicker by actually using a faster aircraft. But this is one of the few aircraft that comes with the game that has, you know, the fully automated, fully interactive cockpit. There are a couple others. There's Fast Jet, which one is it? Can't remember which one it is now. I can picture it, and I've forgotten the name of it. Is it Phantom? I think it's Phantom, which has pretty solid. No, it isn't the Phantom, is it? It's that old American twin-engine, ridiculously fast. Never mind. I'm not great at aircraft and aviation things, but it has the interactive cockpit as well, and that. But oh my god, trying to manage that thing just in terms of how fast everything happens is terrifying. I've done a lot of not recorded muckabouts in it, and it's so much fun. You can throw that thing around the sky in such a crazy way. Actually, I think I maybe did record myself really early on just mucking about, trying different aircraft. I think that may have been even my first recording of XPlane 11, I can't remember now. I'll have to go back and check. I'm sure I did the recording and looking about in this, just trying a different aircraft. They could do it in that, and these would be much shorter hops. I'd probably crash on the way. So what Hurley doing? Oh, there's an aircraft carrier again, and something with a heli deck. Yeah, so the aircraft carrier thing. Definitely think. Look, we're about a third of the way to our destination now. Seems about right. Yeah, I'd say about a third of the way. I was just going to say, interesting, it looks like he's over in the same place, but no. Wow, that's quite the turn. Has he landed somewhere? Because that was quite the turn. It was actually a terrifyingly quick turn. Ah, yeah, he's landed somewhere. Where's he landed? Don't recognise where that is. Okay. How far off are we? Maybe 6 minutes. I was going to say we're about 5 minutes out. Ready to turn down. Oh, what's that out there? It's like a really bright straight line, which is weird. Is that just a road? Strange colour for a road line. Is it just a glitch in the map? I was just like glancing into my headset to look at the time, see what time it is. I keep forgetting that the time's right there. What is that? It reminds me of when I did the round Britain thing in VTOL VR. When it got to a certain point in Wales, there was a road that went off. I think it was a road went off into the infinite distance. There was like a glitch in the map, and my first attempt, where before I was recording, yeah, I was just mucking about with the map and trying out the idea of doing the round UK flight, and I just flew into the road and crashed. But the road was, I don't know, 500 feet in the air, and just went out all the way out to Ireland and beyond. It was like this really scary hazard. So when I actually did the actual recording, I had to make a point of flying higher to try and get over it. And that just kind of reminds me of it. It looks like some strange thing off in the distance. I thought I saw something flying up there then. Doing okay. Doing okay. What's that symbol? What does that mean? Oh, it disappeared. I clicked on it and it disappeared. should I be worried? I don't know what that symbol meant, and I clicked on it and it disappeared. I'm not seeing another instance of that symbol anywhere. Right, well there's definitely, I cannot remember if it's called Sperm Point or Sperm Head, or if it's that Sperm Point at the end on Sperm Head. It's a while, but yeah, it's this kind of big bank that goes all the way out into the Humber. It's a really thin strip of land. It's showing up on here. Yeah, there we go. It's a really interesting thing. I seem to remember there is a road that goes out to the end of it. Headset's sitting a little heavy on my head now. I've been doing a fair bit of VR this weekend. I've already been in like 4 different games so far today. I think I might make this my final one today. Get outside, go for a run, get some fresh air. It's still quite, it's actually quite warm at the moment out and about, and what's the temperature? 22 degrees, which is warm for Scotland. But it's also kind of muggy, humid with it, which isn't nice. Right, I need to think about turning a little bit. I'm going to want to make a fairly sharp turn when we get there by the looks of things. I think if and when I finish this as well, it would be interesting to do something similar, but pick a part of the world that I don't know. It feels kind of normal and easy and comfortable to actually fly, in the country where I live. It would be quite interesting to pick a different part of the world and go explore, maybe with slightly more challenging terrain. Right, there we go, let's go for it. That thing out there, whatever it is bigger. I'm curious what that is now, if it's just a map glitch. Right, this is going to be, I think, the biggest stretch of water I've flown over yet. I suppose this is one of those times where I should actually know whether my glide ratio or whatever is such that if I was to lose power now, should I turn back or should I head for the south shore, that kind of thing. Feels like the sort of thing you should know, really, doesn't it? What's that there? not sure what those things are. I'm kind of tempted to cut in and just go straight, but no, I think I'll follow the coast as planned. So I kind of want to go down the edge of the wash. I'm sort of deliberately avoiding this area here because I seem to remember, I think I saw it on the chart I was looking on, there is a sort of practice bombing range, I think, or something like that. I want to say the RAF or whatever, but yeah, certainly I think at certain times of the year fast jets use this area for practicing certain kinds of things. I think maybe there's some kind of gunnery range there as well. I don't know, I'm not hot on these kinds of things. I just seem to remember there's something out that way. What is that? Can't be a river. I think it's a canal. Is there anything actually on here? Ooh, Coningsby. Actually, where's Waddington? That's Cromwell, so that's near where I used to live. College Cromwell. There's Waddington. I went to the air show there so many times. Scampton. Yeah, this is Battle of Britain Memorial, Flight Country and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I have no idea what that is out there. It's definitely one of the things I did like about living in Lincolnshire was its ties to the world of aviation. There's always some interesting stuff going on and interesting things to see. It doesn't take place anymore. I think they stopped it quite a few years ago now, but the Waddington Air Show was always a great air show. And of course, Lincolnshire, I think still, I don't know, but certainly for all the time I lived there, is where the Red Arrows were based. So you often see them practicing at certain times of the year, which is always really enjoyable. And obviously the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, based in Lincolnshire as well, so I used to enjoy seeing them fly about quite a bit. Right, here we go. So sadly the Lincolnshire coast, most of it I don't know terribly well. I went to Skegness a couple of times. That's really about it. But weirdly, all the time I lived in Lincolnshire, I very seldom got out to the coast. 6 minutes to the next waypoint. I think it's yeah, I think I kind of got one there, and then turn in there. I think something like that. Five minutes to go. Just zoom out a bit. Definitely about halfway. Not maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know what that area is down there. Never really explored it that much. It's one of those bits of the UK coast that is mostly fairly flat. You don't really get dramatic cliffs or anything like that. A large part of Lincolnshire is also very flat. Certainly the part where I lived is, very much Fenland and stuff like that. As you get further up this way, it's a little bit hillier, relatively speaking. Lincolnshire Wolds was, nice rolling countryside, that kind of thing. Well, I say was, still is. Not to imply it's not there anymore or anything. It's a good town down there. So I'm trying to remember exactly where Skegness is. Oh, right there. I didn't know that Skegness has an airfield. Oh, that's a worry. There's a cloud below me by the looks of things. Yeah. That's a concern. That's a concern. I wonder if I need to be getting down. It actually looks really low lying as well. No, it's actually closer to me, isn't it? I'm going to drop down a bit. Oh, not that much. Not that much. Need to remember I can't dial this in too heavy. I'm going to lose about 1,000 feet, I think. It looks fairly thin, so I should be okay. Maybe not lose quite so much. I'm going to come down through it just so I can keep seeing the ground okay. For a moment I was worried that it looked like it was actually really hugging the ground. Well, do you know what? It's certainly more blue sky, and I'm certainly seeing... Yeah, I can see a greater distance now. The air is definitely clearer here. Right, coming up to another waypoint. Okay, so I only really need to lose about 400 feet, so that was okay. Seconds or so to the next waypoint. Dump a little bit more altitude. So these clouds are definitely looking a bit lower. They're more broken. Visibility seems better, but the clouds also seem lower. Okay, good to go. Let's turn again. Way waypoints are getting closer now, or marginally closer anyway. Just adjusting my microphone a little bit. Sorry if there's a bit of noise, I was just checking it was in a good position. Here's the supposedly Airfield. Don't know that one. Can't see it. I feel like I should be able to see it out the window. It's down there, I'm not seeing it. I don't know how far away that's supposed to be. I think it's a bit further than I realised. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's an airfield there. So Fenland, where I'm going to be landing, I seem to remember it's actually a grass strip. So this will be certainly the smallest airfield I've landed at yet on this trip. And also my first grass strip. So it might make for an interesting approach and landing. See how it goes. I don't know which is more intimidating, actually, landing at somewhere really quite big or landing at a little grass strip. The braking is going to be interesting because I do have this problem with the left brake. There's also the parking brake. I really need to get to the bottom of why that is. I have been through the settings in the config and I just can't figure out why. Get a bit more power, just because I want to move this along a little bit. Yeah, the shadows and everything are definitely a lot sharper now. There's more contrast between the light and the shadow. Definitely not as hazy. Definitely nowhere near as hazy. Probably going a little bit too fast for an aircraft like this, I would guess, but I'll hurry this along a little bit. It's just adjust that way a little bit. I'm curious how people do fly aircraft like this, because it seems like it would be kind of stressful and not enjoyable to sit here with your hands permanently on the yoke and the feet on the pedal, having to hold it. I know I recognise that you trim for level flight and all that kind of stuff and everything. But just in terms of holding direction and everything, I wonder if they do tend to use some kind of autopilot. Especially if you're on a longish flight anyway. Using it like cruise control sort of thing, I guess. It looks so cool. VR is the most amazing thing. Even though this isn't massively realistic, it still feels so good. said it so many times before, I realise, but to compare and contrast this with my first ever flight sim, which is on a Sinclair's LX81 back in the very early 1980s, and you know, I was blown away by that. That seemed amazing. It really caught my imagination. Never would have imagined I'd be doing this in my living room. You know, it's one of those things I keep saying, your video's not really going to convey what I'm experiencing here. I actually really have a real cockpit in front of me. Okay, 2.5 minutes left. Things are starting to speed up now. We're going to go around there, and then I need to find a way in. We'll find a good approach. Ooh, some low cloud. Really low cloud over there. How far away do you think that is? It's kind of hard to gauge. Definitely been lucky with the weather so far while doing this. Ever since I started doing it, which is what, about 2-3 weeks back now. What is this? This is my third leg. This is my third leg. So yeah, it's been 3 weekends, so about 2 weeks. Yeah, the weather's actually been really quite fine and warm pretty much throughout the whole of the UK. Got away with this quite well. I mean, obviously I'm doing it in summer, nearly summer. Okay, first approaching the waypoint. Oh, there's that symbol again. What does that mean? Yeah. It's interesting that I can click on it and nothing happens. I don't know what it means. What's interesting is it looks like sort of stag's antlers or something like that. I have to try and find a key for this kind of thing. What does that mean? It doesn't get any bigger as I zoom in. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Okay, so this area here is the wash. That's this big notch here. So I'm going to fly along pretty much north-ish shore, and then in towards Fenland. And then after this leg, I'm kind of going to be going into what is for me uncharted territory. I mean, obviously, I know these other bits of the UK and everything, but I'll be heading to areas where I've never lived. So I'll be going out Norfolk and into Suffolk and all that kind of stuff, and then onto the south coast next. And mostly don't know those areas in terms of being able to relate to them. I've visited some of those areas but never lived there. The next time I'll be anywhere close to where I live will be around Portsmouth, Southampton, Isle of Wight area. So I used to live in near Winchester in Hampshire. Getting quite a bit off my track here. Actually, it might be nice to, when I'm down that way, try and make it so I actually finish up on the Isle of Wight. Make one of my stops in the Isle of Wight. That'd be fun. And after then, I won't visit anywhere again that I have a connection to, because pretty much, other than Hampshire, my connection to the UK is being very much at the East Coast. Having been born and grown up in North Yorkshire, then lived up on Tyneside, eventually ended up back in Lincolnshire, and now in the Edinburgh area. It's kind of all more at the East Coast, despite the fact that Edinburgh is the most westerly I've ever lived, which is always the thing that boggles my mind. That's the thing that always seems to get most people. It's kind of practically a meme at this point. What's that guy? The guy, the YouTuber who does all the stuff with maps and things. Can't remember his actual name. And he's done this thing. He's not the first person to do it, but definitely, he kind of nicely highlighted the observation where people seem to think of Edinburgh is sort of directly above London and all that kind of stuff, whereas actually, when you really look at Edinburgh, I think it's actually further west than Bristol or places like that, because we all seem to think the UK is sort of like that angle, but we kind of think of it being more like that angle. It's like there's just this weird thing in your head, because you go up if you take the train, you go up the East Coast line, you go north from London to Edinburgh. That's what you do. It's, that's how it feels, because it isn't really the case. Right. I'm wondering which runway. Not really taking wind into account. Actually, where have I got the wind? I don't think there's much wind today. Yeah, okay. So the wind's blowing in that direction. So I should probably... I don't have much choice. It's not going to number them. It's not going to number them on the map. What do I want? What do I want? That would make sense. Think this route through. I think I probably want 26. Yeah, I think I want runway 26. Definitely cloud below me, but it actually looks clear ahead, so that's okay. There's some low bits over there. Okay, so it's actually less than 5 minutes to my last waypoint. And then I need to be turning to the airstrip. I'm going to lose some altitude. Start heading down to about 2,000. Whoa, 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 steady on, steady on, steady on. That's just a bit too much. Need to watch our speed. Don't want to overspeed. Less than 3 minutes. Yeah, I think I'll... It's that sign again, that symbol again. I'm definitely going to have to look at it. I need to remember when I get out of here. Got to look online and figure out what that is. Definitely on a warm day like this is probably a bit too much. Slightly too long a flight. I'm doing okay, but I can sense that I'm getting a little bit dehydrated. I should put a little table by the side of me with a little sippy bottle or something like that, so I can take a swig of water. That'd be sensible. But yeah, on a warm day like this, it's actually a bit of a marathon, for me anyway, VRing for this amount of time in one go. I'm definitely quite warm now. Okay, less than 90 seconds. Almost looks like a strip there. What actually is that? It isn't a strip, but it looks like there's something there. Natural structure. Okay, here we go. Without any fanfare, kind of hit the home leg. Kind of didn't even notice. Six minutes to go. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to fly straight in. I may fly overhead just to get my bearings and see what we can see. Shall I take over? Sort of tempted to take over at some point soon. definitely be getting rid of some of this speed. It's out there somewhere. Definitely not too far off now. Where are you? Where are you? Let's get my bearings on where it is. I can think about how I'm going to approach. Still, it's okay for me to just head to it, overfly it, get a feel for the way out, and then come in for an approach. Still about 6 minutes out. It's going to be hard at a spot anyway, just because there's a grass strip, I would imagine. This is the thing with this, is I kind of plan the flight and everything, you know, sort of roughly plan it and try and make sure it's about an hour and everything, but from the getting set up, getting up in the air, getting to speed, getting to altitude, then the coming and landing and finishing off and everything at the end, it ends up being quite a longer session. Be out that way somewhere. Touch over 4 minutes left. Actually, it should be more over that way. Slightly off to my right. I can see a building down there. I think that's it. It looks about right, doesn't it? I think that's it, dead ahead of me, really. I think the strip is going that way, which is what I would want. Right, I'm going to take over. This might be a bad plan. I Autopilot is off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass with it on my left hand side, just so I can get a good view down. This is going to be the trickiest one for me to land at yet. That's definitely... Oh! So there's two strips there, but wow, I just realised as well, I think the main strip is the one that I'm sort of getting lined up on now. I'm going to come in this way. This looks familiar because when I was playing Flight Sim a long time ago, yeah, that's the main strip. This is actually looking familiar. I used to land at Fenland. I kind of made it my home strip when I was flying a lot in Flight Sim. This looks familiar. Right, I can see the Varsity. I'm a bit high, a lot high. Try and lose some height. I'm going to nose down quite a bit. I know I really shouldn't, but I'm trying to get back on the slope. But yeah, I just remember that the end of the strip is, there's a road runs right at the end of the strip, and suddenly all was looking familiar. Right, there we go. I'm kind of more back on the slope. Actually properly nervous here. Coming in a bit low. Slightly heavy landing, but I'm down. It was a very heavy landing, but I'm definitely down. Right. Okay. Go at the end, and looks like I can taxi around that way. Let's go this way. Sure I'm going about this all wrong. I don't remember Fenland having quite such a fancy set of buildings. There's practically a tower over there. I don't remember it having a tower. All these things in the way. Oh, that's the Varsity, isn't it? That's kind of straight off the runway, wasn't I? Oops. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Where's a good place to park, do you think? I'm going to go and park up alongside this guy. It's interesting the way those planes are parked there. And we're good. I did it. I made it. I'm down. Lights off. I survived. I actually survived. Let's get out. There we go. And once again, I've actually survived a whole flight. I don't remember Fenland having quite such a fancy set of buildings. I'm going to have to look it up now. I'm going to have to look at some pictures and things like that. But yeah, suddenly I remembered as I came in, so it looked like there's supposedly 2 strips. I'm starting to doubt that now, but the layout here and the road at the end and coming in over the road and everything certainly was very, very familiar. So yeah, I made it down. Ah, left my flaps down, didn't I? Also, what is with this? What's up with that? Why is that trim tab like that and the other one isn't? In fact, is there even another one there? Oh, there actually isn't. There's just one. Just curious. Is that a thing? Oh, hang on. No. Oh, there only is. Oh, is that a thing? Interesting. I wonder why that would be. I'm sure there's a very good reason for it. But anyway, that's me done. I need to take this headset off and just sit and cool off and have a drink and then think about getting ready to go out for a run and get some fresh air would be a plan. So from this third ultimately successful, probably the most successful one so far in terms of not running into trouble and having inadvertent dives and things like that. What was I saying? Yes, probably my most successful trip yet, my third leg in this round Great Britain, probably round UK. We'll see how it goes. Flight in XPlane 11. From that, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.